Never stop reading the Bible. Welcome! Today we're diving right into the absolute climax of the Gospel of John, its final 3 chapters. I mean, this is the moment the entire story has been building towards. We're talking about the events that form the very foundation of Christian belief, the death, the resurrection, and the mission that followed. And really, that brings us to the big question we're going to explore today. How does a story about a brutal execution and a sealed tomb completely transform into a message of hope and eternal life? That's the powerful journey we're about to break down. Okay, so let's get into it, starting with chapter 19. Now, this chapter obviously details Jesus' death, but it's presented in a very specific way, not as a tragedy or some kind of accident, but as the intentional fulfillment of a divine, sovereign plan. You know, the way this chapter frames the crucifixion is just fascinating. The story makes it so clear that these events aren't random. Instead, they're shown as the direct fulfillment of prophecies from ancient texts, like Psalm 22 and Isaiah 53. For the original audience, this was absolutely crucial. It was the proof that Jesus' story was part of a divine plan, that everything was unfolding according to a script written long ago. It really highlights this sense of complete divine control. And that sense of control is just hammered home by the path to the tomb itself. It's all presented as this very orderly sequence. First, you get the official sentence from the Roman governor, Pilate. Then, the public execution. And finally, the burial. Each step feels deliberate, really underscoring the idea that nothing here is happening by chance. So, here's the key takeaway from this chapter. Jesus' death isn't portrayed as a failure. Not at all. It's seen as the necessary and planned completion of God's work. In this telling, it's the essential step towards salvation for all of humanity. Now let's move on to chapter 20 and see how the story builds to this incredible turning point. We're about to pivot from the finality of the tomb to the explosive, world-changing reality of the resurrected life. What's interesting is that the discovery doesn't happen all at once. It kind of unfolds in stages. On that first day, it's Mary Magdalene who finds the stone rolled away and the tomb empty. Later that same evening, Jesus appears to his disciples, but one of them, Thomas, isn't there. It's not until a whole week later that Jesus appears again, and this time it seems it's specifically for the one who doubted. And that brings us to this incredibly powerful moment. It's really the central tension of the entire chapter. On one side, you've got Thomas and his very human, very relatable doubt. He needs physical proof. But on the other side, you have Jesus' direct, compassionate invitation. He doesn't scold him. He meets him right where he is, in his doubt, to lead him to faith.
The whole thing resolves with this profound statement. And wow, this really defines the very nature of faith for everyone who would come later. The message is crystal clear. Yeah, seeing is one way to believe, but there's a special blessing for those who can believe without that physical proof. This becomes the bedrock of Christian faith.
Okay, so Jesus is resurrected. The big question then becomes, what now? Well, chapter 21 basically serves as an epilogue that answers that exact question. It's all about defining the new purpose and the mission for his followers. The chapter kicks off with another powerful display. You've got the disciples, who are professional fishermen, mind you, and they've been out all night and caught absolutely nothing. But then, at the command of the resurrected Jesus standing on the shore, they haul in this net-breaking catch of 153 large fish. It's just such a clear sign of his continued authority and his power to provide in an overwhelming way. But the real heart of this chapter, I think, is this intimate conversation. You have to remember, just before the crucifixion, Peter denied even knowing Jesus 3 times. Now he's sitting by a charcoal fire, so similar to the one where he denied him, and Jesus asks him 3 times, "Do you love me?" With each yes, Peter is given a new commission: feed my sheep. This is so much more than a conversation. It's a deep, powerful moment of restoration. It's about healing Peter's failure and setting him on his path for the future. And then, right at the very end, we get this fascinating reveal. The narrator, this anonymous figure who's been referred to throughout the book as the disciple whom Jesus loved, is finally identified as the author of the entire gospel. It's like a powerful eyewitness signature on the whole testimony. So, as we pull back and look at these 3 incredible chapters together, what's the one core belief that really emerges from all of this? It really boils down to these 3 key takeaways. First, that God's sovereign plan is in control, even in the middle of suffering and death. Second, that the resurrection is presented as the ultimate, undeniable proof of Jesus' identity as the Son of God. And finally, that belief in this resurrected Christ is the one true path to eternal life. And honestly, this is the most crucial point of all. The entire gospel, and especially these last chapters, doesn't just end like a history book. It concludes with an open invitation. The whole thing shifts from telling a story to asking a deeply personal question to every single person who hears it. Will you believe? And that's the powerful arc of John's final chapters, from a sovereign death to a resurrected life to a continuing mission. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer.